February 16th, 2021. And if you will all join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. All right, if we can get an adoption of the agenda.
Hey, I'll
To
make a
adopt the
motion.
agen-
Wow.
Go ahead, Sandy.
I move to adopt the agenda for Tuesday, February 16th, 2021.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right, tonight we have guests and we have a presentation from the Wickenburg High School Career and Technical Education Program. And I'll introduce Ms. Rose Garcia.
Okay. Good evening, and yeah, we have a presentation. Each program is going to go ahead and present a little bit about their CTE program. All right, perfect, thank you. And so the very first one, though, I wanted to go ahead and highlight first of all, just what CTE is, and it has a coherent sequence that we go by. The state outlines what this coherent sequence is. It is funded because it follows those standards and that sequence that should be taught, and it usually always ends the second or maybe even a third year with the student earning an industry credential, a certification of some kind. So I wanted to also present to you just the last 3 years of our CTE enrollments. And so you can see 422 students when I pulled this data, and out of that, the 212 students are in a CTE class. And honestly, we're really excited about that because it has been a hard year, as I'm sure you know. And so it's just been just hard for the teachers as they would present and prepare and put things together, and then some students went ahead and just completely did online and didn't do their CTE. So we do have a reduction some in our numbers, but we are still holding steady. And we also, on this bar graph, it will show at the very bottom 2 brand new programs. They have a small enrollment, but they're doing really well, and we're excited to add these 2 new programs to ours. So we will be going through each program and showing you and explaining, and the teachers also have highlighted some pictures to exhibit just some things, some activities that the students have taken part in. So I will go ahead and move on to that. The 7 programs that we have, and you know, Jeremy, I think the smart board will let me just go ahead and click on one, I'm hoping. And then, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Good.
So business is the first one, and it's actually one of our oldest programs. We've had business at Wickenburg High School for years. Business management and administrative services is one that we have had, and the students usually work on certifications in Microsoft, also accounting. So in looking at that, there are many things. There are the financial practices, administrative practices. These students many times will apply their skills to managing different activities as far as all of our programs. For instance, you're probably familiar with the Santa Fest that we usually put on every December. And business management is the organization behind that. They're the ones who are calling, arranging the date, arranging time, arranging people and resources. So that gives them some hands-on experience in those management skills. And the equipment, we really are proud of the fact that we do have up-to-date computer system. We bought 30 new computers 2 years ago from a Perkins grant, and we are in the process of upgrading our Microsoft Office 2 to a professional edition. It's something that the state always clearly delineates to us. They never want us to be more than 2 editions behind in software. That can sometimes be expensive, but it's because they want us to be sure to be preparing our students for the real world at work. So they have to be familiar with the software. And this was also then just highlighting, we have had one FBLA competition already, a virtual one, that our students did well in. This was actually a previous year, and we, with business management, we belong to the CTSO, or Career Technical Student Organization, FBLA. And last year, I think some of you probably remember how we even hosted the regionals here, which was exciting for our town and for our school. So the FBLA is still very active. Like I said, it's just hard because many times we're doing things virtually. So that is that program. And then, Jeremy, I haven't thought through how I'm going back to the next one. So I want to jump back to my
Presentation.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so I now need to go ahead and on this one, I just want to go ahead and bring up construction tech. And this is Mr. Steve Pennick, that is the teacher of this program. And Steve also, he does 2 programs, so he'll be presenting twice here, and he is our expert on that. So I want to introduce right now Mr. Steve Pennick. I know you had your own business even for woodworking, so you are our resident expert.
This feels very comfortable. 2 of my students 2 years ago made this.
Yay.
Oh, wow.
Nice job.
Yes.
Very nice.
Your presentation didn't come up, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, I can talk about anything.
Yeah. You could just go ahead and start, but I'm sorry. It was a nice idea to have them embedded. It's just not perfectly working. So, Jeremy, I don't know.
We have it on our screen.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, it's not up there. Okay, well,
Jeremy's moving about. Here he comes.
I don't know. Technical difficulty. How do I get it to show here? It is linked. It just, it looks like it's thinking. Perfect. Yes, okay. Sure, so, yep, so that one's it. Your right hand.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be here. Construction program at Wickenburg High School was going really, really well when I took over. The gentleman before me did an excellent job, so it was easy for me to step in and try to follow in his footsteps, but there's no following Kevin Alinsky's footsteps. He was amazing. He's an amazing guy. But what we did do is we added the third-year program. First year today, this is our first year with that third-year program. During our second year, students get an OSHA 10 card. The curriculum we use is the same curriculum that just about all, I think all, apprenticeship programs use. It's nationwide. National Center for Construction Education and Research curriculum. First year, we're focusing on safety. That's the first thing. Safety is so very important. We've had a couple of little incidents, and we had one with this. That piece right there was nailed to a young lady's head.
Oh, boy.
And she laughed about it. It was her boyfriend that did it. It was a total accident. It was really devastating to me because it was my first accident. Scared me, but it didn't scare her. The only problem is she left with my piece of trim. I didn't have any more. Get some more. Proper use of hand and power tools. Obviously, construction 1 doesn't get into power tools a lot until the second semester. But I want them to know how to use one safely. Construction math, that has been the biggest problem for me. That's the hardest thing. I was flabbergasted that high school students couldn't read a tape measure because they didn't understand fractions. And I started with my pacing calendar showing 2 weeks for construction math. It took 2 months, first year. We're down to 1 month now. Then we go into front reading, and then they get into their projects. Very first project is a sawhorse, and the second one is the small dog houses. It's got a pointer in it.
Does it have what?
A pointer?
No.
If you look at the red and white dog house, that one is still available if anybody wants to purchase it. Jumping to the second year, we get into more construction, what you might think of as carpentry, looking at house framing, roofing, exterior finishing. We get into masonry, residential electrical work, HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, drains, vents, and waste, which is basically plumbing. Then we look at rigging and employability skills. There's a very important, well, I'll just tell you, this is important to me, is preparing these young people for what they're going to experience in the real world. And the real world, they're not ready for it. And so when we take the time to go through employability skills, I think that's a 7-week, 7 classes. It really opens their eyes. Can I take this off?
Yes.
I don't know if you guys know, but I had COVID not so long ago. I still struggle breathing. Third year focuses on cabinet making. They're really going to do mainly small projects. They'll build some cabinets. They'll build some furniture. I showed you one of the projects a few moments ago. They're building an outdoor, I guess it's an indoor and outdoor coffee table. They'll be looking at more advanced tools. Now, this is where I'm really comfortable because my company was a custom cabinetry company. And when I was hired, I was actually hired originally to teach cabinet making, which was exciting. But then somebody decided that I needed to teach construction. Mr. Hodges knows my construction experience is at nuclear power plants. We're not teaching nuclear power plant building over there. Matter of fact, I'd have to call you back.
Yeah, right.
We're looking at pocket hole joints, mortise and tenon joints, dovetail joints, tongue and groove joints, introduce them to the biscuit maker.
What is that?
What's a biscuit maker?
Mm-hmm.
You don't use an oven.
There's a little.
I didn't think
it
so.
makes slots, and the biscuits are a little,
Wafers.
I could draw something.
Wafer? We'll call it a
They're
wafer?
Wafers, you call them wafers?
Yeah.
And they just go in the slots, you put it, if you want.
They're kind of oblong with points on the end.
They are. They're oblong, and the glue actually swells them. And you put the glue and pull it together and clamp it together. Probably one of my very favorite joints.
Huh.
My hardest joint is dovetail, unless you use a dovetail jig. Now, if you can afford a very expensive dovetail jig, piece of cake. I didn't buy a very expensive dovetail jig in my business. It was kind of mediocre, but I still love dovetails. Router table, we have one of the nicest router tables. We have a Craig router table. It is fantastic. Teaching construction classes remotely is impossible.
I agree.
Thank goodness we have that. And then set with principal and vice principal. And they came up with a way I could kind of do it. It's more career exploration using Edgenuity. So I still have construction students, remote learning. They can't do the projects. They can't get the hands-on. And I think that's a tragedy because they really need that hands-on. I had a young man in a conference with his parents look at me with tears in his eyes. He was not doing so well in his academic classes. And I'm smart with my hands, but not with my head. And, that stuck with me. As a result of that, I have Mr. Pinnock's 3 C's. Character, confidence, and craftsmanship. Even though craftsmanship is a spell.
Yeah.
That's on purpose.
Oh.
Character is most important. If we don't prepare these young men, young ladies, to go into the workforce totally understanding what an employer expects of them, then they're going to fall flat on their face. Confidence, I want them to know enough about the project that they're going to make, the tool they're going to use, that they aren't hesitant in any way, shape, or form. And they can use it. And then craftsmanship. Never put a project out or sell a project that you're not willing to put your name on. I never ever sold anything that I didn't put my name on. So, any questions about construction? That's really quick run through.
I just have a quick couple here, Steve. In your second year, talks about, I know you did say plumbing, but it says drains, vents, and waste. Do they also cover supply water piping also, or not?
They touch on it.
Pressure.
I'm sorry,
Pressure.
I'm hearing aids.
Would be pressure related piping, yeah.
You said you had 2? Was there another question?
So, do you take care of, or do you cover the pressure side of the plumbing also?
Again, we just touch on it academic.
Okay, okay. And then the second question was, I see you did basic safety, and being you worked at Palo Verde, I take it you are quite detailed with your safety stand downs and that on a daily basis then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was actually the safety guy for David Malden in maintenance. He and I know some people.
Okay,
Good.
I have a question. These students who are doing construction remotely and can participate in projects, how do they pass the class? Because I would assume that's part of the class.
It's a very large part of the class.
Yeah, So
Again,
if you can't do the projects, how can you pass the class?
that was the problem that I had. I don't know how to teach construction when I can't have somebody in front of me so I can show them how to use a biscuit maker or any of those things. But Edgenuity was the only thing that we had, and there's only two classes that Edgenuity offers, and they're both career planning oriented. One's Introduction to Architecture and Engineering, and Construction careers, and the other one is Career Planning. That's the title.
Okay, but again, if these students are in construction and are doing this remotely and can't do projects, they cannot pass the class. Is that correct?
We use Edgenuity scores. That's the direction we have to go.
Well, that doesn't seem fair. I mean, if I have to build a project, why doesn't everybody have to build a project if it's part of my grade?
I understand. You would have to talk to the people that made those decisions. I'm just not that person.
I do think that was a dilemma that we were facing in some classes. The culinary was similar in some cases, it has that. But we had kids, especially when we were remote, and then chose to stay remote.
As we are live streaming this, so Mr. Pennick, thank you. And if we need to speak up so that you can hear, I understand the acoustics in this room are not that great. So we'll speak loudly in asking questions.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and present the culinary arts program, and we have Chef Howard Pearsall.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to meet you. I don't think I've met everybody before, but it's good to put faces with names sometimes. So I have been in the industry for over 40 years. I started in junior college, and my first teaching job was in a minimum security prison in Illinois. So I was locked in a cell with 12 kids every day, and out of the 12 kids, the oldest was 16 and only one had murdered somebody. And I was locked in with giving them knives and cutting tools. But I never had a problem. Luckily, I never had a problem with it. I have one time where they thought a knife was missing and I found it, and it wasn't a big deal. The biggest problem I had with those kids was they couldn't read and write, so I was trying to teach them how to cook, and they couldn't read a recipe, they didn't know what a cup was, they didn't know what a teaspoon was, so I had to end up teaching them how to read before I could teach them how to cook, and I had to literally walk them through step by step. So this is my first full-time teaching job, especially at the high school level. I've done mentoring with high school kids through a group called CCAP, and I've done adjunct teaching at junior colleges here and in some other states. So what I try to do is I'm also a certified executive chef and certified culinary educator with the American Culinary Federation, a national organization, and I try to work through their, and then they can step up, and then we can do that certification, and they can take that certification with them when they leave as well. So we try to touch, just like Steve does in construction, all the basic fundamentals and go through step by step on different categories. And we try to teach them food preparation. I teach them about the equipment. We have a working kitchen with commercial equipment and commercial tools, so they are familiar with those tools if they go get a job out in the industry. These are a couple of things that were made. A cake with strawberries. The salad in the bottom left-hand corner, that was what the CCAP students had to do for their competition that I mentored. They would have 45 minutes to make that salad from scratch, and then they would go through an interview process in order to get scholarship money to go to college. The right side was a student that we were doing the baking class, the baking section with yeast breads, and they made some yeast breads in the classroom at the that one they actually made at home. And so to kind of answer your question about culinary arts and construction for online, log into a Google Classroom for every one of my classes when we were remote, and I do it now today if I have remote students. If they choose to cook something and they send me a picture of what they cooked and they can explain to me how they cooked it and what they made it with, I go ahead and give them credit for it in my class. So if they attend and I hold them to the same standard of being in class on time, I still mark them tardy. If they don't click in at the same time the bell rings at school, I mark them tardy. If they're not there, they're absent. I treat them exactly the same as if they were in the classroom, and I score them the same way. For the projects or the cooking part of it, I do give them a little leeway because obviously I can't see them actually cook it and I can't taste it, but they're making the effort and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And in the cooking and the food service industry, if you show up, you pay attention, and you're able to follow instructions, that's 90% of getting a job in the food service industry. If you come in and think you know everything, you're going to have problems right from the start. So I want to teach them basics. Show up on time, clean your stations. They have to clean the room. They don't like it, but I refuse to give passes. If the kitchen is not clean when they leave, I do not dismiss them, and I do not give passes if the kitchen is not clean when they leave. So they have to do all of those things because realistically, they're not going to go out and get a job as a chef when they leave. They're going to be a busboy, they're going to be a prep cook, they're going to be a dishwasher, they're going to be something else, and they're going to have to work into it. I started as a dishwasher, and because I had the interest, I took on positions and I took on jobs that the chefs gave me, and that gave them the confidence, and I moved up until I went to school and got my degree and then kept going in the industry. So here on the bottom is a dinner that we used to do before COVID. At the end of the year, it was done by this office. So we would do it in the Saguaro Blossom room and do a regular sit-down dinner. That can happen once things change, but I'm trying to come up with ideas that we can do to get more exposure for the kids to cook things. It's difficult without their food handlers cards or their safety and sanitation. We can't technically really sell it. As long as I'm there, we can bridge the gap a little bit. The top right is a picture of our kitchen. You can see the commercial tables and equipment that we have. And the bottom was a student that was working in the kitchen at that time.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
I just want to say I've been to those dinners, and I have always been thoroughly impressed by the kids. I mean, their manners, the food, everything. It's always been a pleasure.
I appreciate that, but I can't take credit for it. Because
I know,
that was
but
prior to me.
but they've always done a really super job.
But that's the idea we want to build in the kids and what they have to do in the service industry and working in a restaurant, serving people and serving customers, and working for a boss, because typically they're not easy to work for either. So here on the top left was the Santa photo shoot from last year, the setup. The one in the center, we had baked 680 sugar cookies, snowmen, and we made icing for them, and each kid that got their picture taken was given an opportunity to decorate the cookie any way they want. So we had cookie or candies and sprinkles and stuff, and 2 students volunteered to come and help me, and we helped decorate them. There was also, prior to my coming on board, they did a salsa competition here in Wickenburg, and the top was the student that won the salsa competition, and the bottom was just some pictures from that competition here. I'm also have a culinary club that's attached with FCCLA, that stands for Future Career and Community Leaders of America. Unfortunately, with the shutdown, I don't get good turnouts at the meetings because of transportation issues, but we do working on remote and virtual competitions for the kids, and trying to get them into community, and I'm trying to come up with ideas for them to do community outreach or volunteering in the community. Maybe we'll do Meals on Wheels when we get enough people at meetings and stuff, but those are the kind of things I'd like to do with the kids in the community connected with culinary.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Did you have as much problems with culinary mathematics as Steve had with construction mathematics?
Probably not quite as much as Steve, but I do have problems with them. Even some of the second-year students, even though they have to have the first year before they take second year. An example was a couple weeks ago, we were working in the kitchen and I had him pick out a recipe, and he starts cutting up a bunch of onions and stuff, and I said, well, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm making this recipe. I said, well, yeah, but your recipe is for 12 people. You're making it for 2. So did you break that recipe down the way you were shown before? And of course, he's kicked back. He was just reading the recipe and following the recipe that was in front of him. So
I've done that before.
And I try to do that, but and I don't try to jump in too quick. I want to let them make a mistake, because obviously when you learn to walk, you fall down. When you learn to ride a bicycle, you fall down. So I don't want them to completely fail, but I want them to see what their mistakes happen and then step in to show them how to correct it.
Never mind, I just deleted it.
So
You can undo.
it is an issue.
Just do the undo.
And it's kind of funny, one of my hardest things is with technology and the telephone. They don't want to put their phones down, they're on their phones. And one student actually told me, he said, well, I can't read the clock. I said, I've got 2 clocks, you don't need your phone. He said, well, I can't read the clock. Well, then you need to learn, or you wait till I tell you can leave. So, it is a little bit of an issue, but
And these are high school students.
yeah, high school, yeah.
Thank you.
It's not easy, but but that's the stuff they have to realize. As Steve said, if they go out and get a job, bosses are going to expect certain things. When I first took the job, I was trying to do kind of junior college and a little more advanced, and I pulled myself back to just say, okay, let's just do step 1, step 2. If we get to 3 and 4, okay. If we don't, as long as they get these, then they're okay. They got a good foundation.
Okay. Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hello, my name's Steve Pennick.
This guy looked just like you a while ago.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. You know, engineering is my passion. My bachelor's degree is in electrical engineering. I didn't plan it that way. When I got out of the Navy, I got out early to go to college. I went into my counselor and I said, I want to do something with electronics. He said, we don't have that, so we're signing you up for electrical engineering. And that's how come I became an electrical engineer. But engineering is very exciting right now at our high school. There have been so many things, so many areas of growth, mainly because of the equipment that we have purchased. Our students can now do mechatronics as well as robotics, bionics, and we're looking to even expand those things.
I did look at
Okay.
Sorry. Just tell me when you need it.
All righty. The engineering design process, computer-aided design, 3D printing, that's something brand new. We just got 3 3D printers over the summer, and the young people love that. Some of the things you have to watch very closely, and thank goodness I have to approve every one of the models that they send over, because sometimes they're kind of not what you want to be printing on your 3D printer.
I can imagine.
Robotics it's been in the program probably longer than anything. And robotics is so very exciting to the young people until they come back saying, hey, Mr. Pennick, we watch battle bots on TV. And they want to start battling each other. Well, we don't want to do that. Those parts cost a lot of money. But one of the things that they have to do in robotics is they have to be able to autonomously have programmed their little robot that they built to autonomously write their name.
Huh.
So there's a whiteboard sheet on the ground, and they have to put a drive marker, and they have to mount it appropriately, and they have to have programmed it to the extent that it can write their name.
Huh.
That is difficult. That is very difficult, but it's very exciting when they are successful. Mechatronics, we just purchased last year 3 mechatronics stations. And a lot of people don't know what mechatronics is.
I was just gonna ask.
That's right.
So if you hit the button, I don't know if that got put in. That's the engineering design process in 7 steps.
Do you want another slide?
Well, I can talk about this one. Every student has to learn that you make mistakes, as Howard said. And when you make a mistake, no matter where you are on this cycle, if you will, you have to start over at the beginning. Now, if there's not a problem, if the problem doesn't exist, then there's no need to put any time or effort into it. So that's the first thing. Does a problem exist? What is the need and who needs it? Secondly is the research. Then they have to start brainstorming. They put together something called mind maps, and they have to use those. Following that up, they have to come up with several different solutions, and using a decision matrix, they have to come up with the most, one that would probably be the best for the circumstance or the need that they found. While we were remote, they chose something I thought was pretty interesting as their project. It's the cleanup of, what's the name of that place? Box Canyon. Box Canyon. I went to find Box Canyon and I couldn't find it. But I don't have my Jeep anymore, so I'm not gonna go. Anyway, that's what they chose. And the brainstorming was pretty interesting. They had all these ideas of putting garbage cans in certain places. Well, how are you going to keep them there? Who's going to pick them up? They had to go through the whole thing. And they learned the importance of reiteration, starting back, going back through. When you get to the next one, the next cycle, part of the cycle, you have to build a prototype. And that is what makes me excited, because now they can print it out and they can try it out. And it's real engineering. It's real engineering. And they get excited about that. You know, we still do the paper towers and they have to do the trebuchets or catapults and all of those kind of projects. But when they have a chance to see a 3D printed model of their design, that gets me excited. That's when to build our program. You keep going, you go through the testing, improving. You always want to improve on your design, and that's just the engineering design process.
So mechatronics is what? Did I miss something?
I had put a slide in, but I put it in too late, I think, to explain what mechatronics is.
Oh,
Mechatronics is simply, there's nothing simple about it. The coming together of several different engineering disciplines. It started out, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. And it was mechanical and electronics. And somehow they came up with mechatronics. The best way to explain it is, if you've ever seen a video of the automobile industry putting the cars together, that assembly line, that's what it is. That's what we teach right now.
Okay.
When they start the CAD program, which you call Onshape, it can be very daunting. And sometimes you see that kind of face. And sometimes you even see it in second and third year students. That happens to be my great-grandson.
Oh.
Here's an example of an on-shape diagram. The young people had to draw that, and then they had a chance to print on the 3D printer exactly what they had designed there. Next one, yeah, please. they learn what 3D printing is all about. How does a 3D printer work? Well, simply you got a material spool full of filament. It is pulled in through an extruder. It is then put into the hot end that melts it, and then voila, there it is. Second year, intermediate CAD, continuation of what they learned the first year, 3D printing basics, and then they get into robotics. Okay? Third year, advanced CAD, advanced 3D printing, mechatronics, and these young people can get certified in mechatronics simply because I had to go get certified to teach it. This is a station in mechatronics. We have 3 stations. We have a conveyor, a handler, and a stacker. And so that's kind of what that looks like from a mechatronics standpoint. Bionics, we only have had 1 student do bionics. Last year, our 1 engineering 3 student got to do bionics, and what he did is a fish, and the fish moves just like it's supposed to. It's not watertight, so we can't put it in the water. And that student now is studying biomechanical engineering at Grand Canyon. Next. There's the slide I was looking for. Mechatronics. This man, Stephen Amato, I think came up with the best definition. Mechatronics is a field that combines various types of engineering, all integrated into one technical field of study. You can see here, perhaps, all of the fields coming together, what we call mechatronics. Next, there's the automobile assembly line. And keep going. And the excitement I shared with you at the beginning, things that we had purchased recently. The 3D printers, we have 3 of those. Mechatronic stations, we have 3 of those. Bionics kits, we have 3 of those. And electrical kits, we have 2. The electrical kits are basically if the students don't have a basic knowledge of how electricity works. And it's pretty simple, but it shows it very clearly to these young people.
Maybe if they have more questions or?
Any questions?
How many students do you have right now?
In engineering 1, I have 27. In engineering 2 and 3, because of remote, basically I have 1. 1 student. My engineering 3 student that was there went remote, and again, speaking to your concern, he doesn't have the mechatronics stuff at home, so there's no way he can complete that field of study. So, the pandemic really hurt both construction and engineering. I also am the advisor for Skills USA. Skills USA has been around for a long time. If you guys ever have a chance to go down to competitions, they ever have them in person again, I would highly suggest you go down there. You'll see robotics, you'll see mechatronics, you'll see things that just amaze you. Some of the things that these students are given to build, they have a meeting 1 hour before the competition. They give them the plans, they give them the drawings, and then they have to go out and build. We've come in 4th. We've never come higher than 4th, but I'm happy with that.
Well, considering the size of our school, I think that's wonderful.
Any other things I can?
Yeah, Steve, I've got a question, not about your presentation per se, but robotics. When we had brought Governor Ducey around several years ago, that was a robotics thing, wasn't it? Where you delivered that pen to him?
We gave him a Wickenburg High School pin. That,
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
well, I got a little nervous about that because he had all these, I don't know, Secret Service.
Well, I know, I was going to tell you, they were watching.
Robot going toward him.
Yeah.
So I let a student do that.
I know, I was watching.
Put back and-
Those guys, they got alerted when that thing started moving. It's like, what are they going to do to the governor?
And it was one with an arm that came
Yes.
up to bring the pin up to him.
He loved it.
He did.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
I
remember
made
that.
3 of those
Yeah.
pins.
That's cool.
One for him. That would be one.
Thank you, Steve.
Also. And
Thanks, Steve.
the previous principal, I'm sorry, got the other one. I'll make another one for you though if you want.
Okay,
you.
well, and I'm just going to go ahead and cover film and TV just really fast. This is, again, one of our newer programs. We started it 2 years ago, and it is something that I think has caused an awful lot of excitement. The students really do like working with the cameras, working with the video equipment. We also purchase Adobe Premiere for software in our lab, and they can learn then all of those editing skills. That, I mean, the Adobe Premiere, we had balked on it a little bit because it's a yearly subscription, but it is what the industry is using, and it was what our students need to be trained in. So we have used that, and the certification that students would get is usually the Adobe certification with the Premiere. Let's see if I can, I've had more problems with this one. I don't know. It's not advancing. I'll just go ahead and talk to you really fast about it. So the film and TV, they have done their work-based learning also, just as the others have talked about some of the activities. They have filmed sports games, not so much this year, but definitely last year. They filmed assemblies. It was really kind of fun to watch them get lots of clips, lots of shots of different things happening in our pep and award assemblies. It was fun. We worked hard, and I say we, but Debbie Hodgkiss had worked hard in bringing lots of experts in for some professional development times. And we had experts coming, and we thought, well, gosh, there's so many things to choose from. How do we choose? There's some great speakers. So we had some film students come and go ahead and work at filming some of those experts. So they really were getting hands-on. It is what the state always wants us to do is simulate a work experience or a work environment. So they have learned a lot, and it is a very popular class. We have film 1 and 2, and we actually added third year to that also. They don't need third year, that is an extra year, but for the motivated students, they can take that. And we have three students who are in that this year, in spite of everything, and they are doing third year film. So that's exciting. One of them is our state FBLA officer too. So anyway, they're definitely a motivated bunch. Like I said, there, it finally worked. Just some of the equipment, and it is amazing. We actually did have digital photography years back, and when that program was sunsetted and that teacher was moved out, we used the cameras because they were really top cameras that had the video capability. And previous teacher Bill Babyard came and actually brought someone from GCU that was in film classes, and they went through everything and went, wow, we can do this. And so we used all that. We bought, Westmet gave us an $18,000 grant to buy more equipment. Hence, some of the lenses that you'll see, we have invested in some even higher capability lenses. And we got a Slingshot Studio and a large iPad that's going to help us when we video different events. Like I said, this year has been a little bit slim on that, but it will be a great asset. And that's just more shots of where we saw students doing and taking videos throughout campus. And then once a week, they also have produced the announcements on Thursday mornings. And so that's why you see the little green screen there. We've made a back room that's where they actually film that. So that's nice too, because once a week they were producing announcements for the school. So then the next one, I will go ahead and just jump to the next program, and that is, all right. It just, I'm telling you, it doesn't like it. See,
While you're figuring that out, Rose, can I ask you a question? Are any of these kids the ones that also help out with Camp Imagination?
They have sometimes had that experience. There's that crossover. Honestly, Camp Imagination has been fun as an exploratory, truthfully, for several CTE programs. Ooh, Brady, we have it up. There are some that worked with that. Yes, not all of them. I will tell you, I was kind of thrilled even this summer that I had a parent tell me that their student actually made a little video for a company here in town.
Oh,
because
cool.
he had learned how much and he loved it, and he made the video for this company here in town. I thought that was pretty amazing. And yes, he did jump into second year too. It's just really fun, and it isn't just about just doing film or TV production. These skills are used in so many areas nowadays, advertising, marketing, all kinds of businesses. So they're great skills to have, and they actually apply to a lot of different careers. I'm going to go ahead now and introduce you to Brady Nelson. And Brady teaches science for Wickenburg High School, blended and virtual, but she's also started this new program, sports medicine, and it's been a very popular one. And I will tell you, WestMec again came through for us, and they have given us an $18,000 grant, which is just so wonderful to get a program off the ground. So I will turn it over to Brady. Do you want to?
Doesn't matter. Hi, everyone. This is the first year for Sports Medicine and Rehabilitation Program. It's a CTE course. The great thing about it is there's been a lot of hype, especially nowadays with athletics, the health industry and occupations and stuff like that. And a lot of our students have been very interested in the medical area or health occupations. And so this is a program that we talked about last year, actually, when I was hired last year, if this was something that I'd be interested in. And I have a little bit of a background in athletic training, sports medicine, due to my bachelor's, and then also I originally was going to be an athletic trainer, and then I decided to take a different path and become a teacher instead. So we started this year. I have currently I have 10 kids in my class. Most of them are sophomores, a couple juniors, and then I think I have one senior, which will be a 2-year completer program. The students, you can switch to the next one, are going to get certifications. Currently, right now, we are getting our CPR and first aid certification. The Wickenburg Fire Department is helping us with that. So that is a great thing for anybody to have. And the kids are actually super excited about it. They went through their first aid last week, so they'll be getting CPR training here this week and next week. And it's a great thing for the students to have under their belt. We're also going to be working towards OSHA 10 healthcare certification. That's something that we're looking at as well, but we're definitely aiming for that 2-year completer program where actually they will be able to get a certified physical therapy aid certification. So when they leave our high school, they could go and work for Champion Therapy, or they could go work for another physical therapy office with that, and have kind of a career already getting going, and then they can use that as a job when they're in college. So it's a great opportunity for them to be able to get experience now and decide whether this is something that they want to do before they actually get into the money and into the years of college, and deciding whether this is what they want. So our curriculum, we do it off the CTE Consortium, which is based off of, there's a lot of different programs out there. So we do a lot of anatomy. Obviously, we have to know where everything is and what it attaches to and what it does. We are doing career exploration, obviously CPR, first aid. We do bandaging and taping, rehabilitation, nutrition, wellness, and all those things kind of develop in how can we make not only necessarily athletes better, but just as a person, how can we help those that get injured as time goes on, or what do we do to as our own selves? What is the nutrition that I need to be having growing up, because we know our bodies change as we get older, and how do I take care of it so I can prevent things happening later? So here we've done a blood pressure and vitals lab. That was kind of one of our first labs. We were graciously enough given the athletic training room in the gym where the kids are able to come to. We have lab hours over there, so we transfer from the classroom over there. So we have an area that's great for the kids to be able to participate in labs. So this is one of them. They got to learn the difference in the blood pressure, and a lot of nowadays they have it electronic, but it was really good for the students to see it hands-on, because it's, you know, more accurate really. Then here we have an ankle taping lab for ankle sprains. This is something that we see a lot, especially in our athletics here in high school. This is a very beneficial lab. They got to learn, and they also they didn't realize how different it was trying to tape a right leg versus a left leg, and the directions that you had to actually tape. That benefited the students, because when you roll your ankles, it goes in different directions when you're taping. So that was kind of interesting for them. They found great things about that. And the nice thing about this too, as well, is that with ankle sprains, we are now doing that for our own athletes. We've had some basketball players that have rolled some ankles, and they're getting work-based learning hours, stepping in after school and taping those ankles for those students, as well as I have a couple girls that are on the basketball team. They've gone to some trips, and kids rolled their ankle. They are actually there and able to wrap the ankle for that athlete at that time. So they're getting a lot of benefits. This is an Achilles tendon wrap, and they all got to demonstrate what it looks like, and it's kind of nice for them to not only do it, but also feel it. What does it feel like when I have that kind of taping or bandaging on my body? What is it restricting or benefiting when I have it on my body? Shin splints, we've done a shoulder spica. Right now we're into a knee injury, so we're going to be learning about ACL tears, how do we bracing and stuff like that for those kind of things. Go to the next one. With sports medicine, we are part of HOSA. We have already attended a symposium, an Arizona Athletic Training Association symposium. We did that January 30th. They actually tested today to hopefully qualify for state, which is in April, or I have it as March 9th. They will actually, they tested today for the written test, and then they will test, if they pass, they get to actually do testing where they call it reverse judging this year, where they'll watch a video of somebody taping an ankle or taping something, and then they have to tell them whether they did it correctly or not. Obviously, without COVID, they would actually go to a competition, they would tape the ankle themselves or tape the shoulder spica or anything like that. So this is reverse judging, and we actually got to do that through the symposium the other last weekend, which was really great. So with this, it was a one-day virtual conference. It was great. I had 6 students show up. 2 were sick. What was really great, they not only got to have presentations from NAU athletic trainers on what to do if they wanted to get into the athletic training program. They also had a sports psychologist come talk about different things like, the impact of an injury on an athlete. What does it do mentally? Then what does it in turn do physically? And then they got to do their skill testing, which that's what, with the taping, the reverse taping, they got to do that, and then as well as a knowledge test. They got to introduce that. And with that, which was really exciting, go to the next one, we had some winners. So it was the kids were super nervous. Not only was I was nervous as well, because it's our first opportunity to kind of test. And we had 3 students. In the skills testing and knowledge, we had all three of our students place in that, and so they got to win some gift cards. And this is over. It was virtual, and there's a bunch of other schools that had participated in it, and so it was really cool for us to show up and do that. And then we did an animage or anatomy test where they blew up this it was a real life body, and they'd say Achilles tendon, and you'd have to tap on it, and they would, as a group, got to test their knowledge on where anatomy parts were all over the body. And in the first round, we placed second by 2 points, and then we did a final round, and we battled it out, and we beat them by like 40 points. So it was really exciting, and the kids were super pumped to feel like they're gaining more knowledge and they're more comfortable with what they're knowing. And it was really nice to see them excited, and so they actually got some gift cards from that as well for winning that. So Wickenburg showed up, and it was really awesome for them to see that. And then I think that's it. So there's our sports medicine. Any questions?
Brady, I have a question for
Yes.
you. Do you have any of your students doing an internship at Champion currently?
So what we do with is we do job shadowing. So they are getting work-based learning hours. So observation hours. We do it. They can do it at the high school. So if I'm at a game, I'm waiting until they have their CPR done, because if something dramatic does happen at a game, I want them to have the CPR certification to happen at the game. But we have also released them to do job shadowing hours. So we do have some students at Champion observing there. I have one student that is he wants to be an EMT, and so he's job shadowing with the EMTs in Congress. And so I kind of have let them choose a little bit on their job shadowing, because not everybody wants to be an athletic trainer or a physical therapist. So I've said, you want to job shadow, let's do it in an area that you want to be interested in. And so I do have one at Champion, and then I have a couple others everywhere else right now. So
Good. Perfect. Thank you.
That's great.
you're welcome.
I'm excited. I want to go back to school.
Anything else? All right,
I
thank
think we're
you.
good. Thank you.
All right, and then we've actually brought back a program that we did have in Wickenburg High School, and it's stage production, or sometimes the state refers to it as stagecraft. So that's why we actually have both names up there. And Westmec has also helped us and given us $7,000. We had textbooks on display for 60 days, working to order those, and it's just exciting. And Sue Baker, I'll introduce her, but she has lots of years of working with all of these different areas. So we're excited to see what's going to happen with this program. It's a fun one.
Hello, I'm Sue Baker. You might know me as an English teacher. Yeah, I've done that. I've been here long enough that I've done darn near anything. This is my room, ladies and gentlemen. Started as the library at the high school, librarian. Yeah, so if you can do it, I've probably done it. I worked with Rose for years. So the nice thing about stagecraft is that it encompasses all these different. Go ahead and click that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure. It includes a whole lot of different subjects. So it's really great because you don't get stuck with being bored with, like doing set design forever. But that's also a problem because you have so many subjects within stage craft that you have to deal with. So we have obviously our lights and our sounds and our costumes and our props and our sets and all those things. But we have design then of those, but then we also have construction. So there's all these different things that we can do. Now, part of them we can't do because we are, in the lovely remote learning, or COVID at least. So I've had to get some creative ways of doing this, but we've gotten a number of things that we've been allowed to do with our kids. I have been, honestly, I just had a friend get hold of me the other day, and I was talking about being a theater director now, and he's like, well, you've been doing that since kindergarten. We used to put on plays in the back of our pickup. My dad made us a puppet stage, and we used to make plays. So I guess I come by this naturally. My parents were theater people in high schools, and so, look what I'm doing. I have been doing this about 15 years. I used to do the props and the costumes and things for all the high school productions for almost 15 years. I work at summer camp, Camp Imagination, we talked about with the film crew. I've worked as their costumer and their prop person for almost 15 years. So I've been doing this a long time. I am now officially the director so I also do all the acting part too, as well as all the tech part. It's me and me. Unfortunately. The nice thing is we can work with a web center. It's great, even though they've been shut down. We've come over and done a number of tours with them, learned to do move some curtains and some soft goods work, looked about on lights and the fly system. And so we've already done some of that. We'd like to go back and do more and some, job shadowing if we ever can get back to, they can actually run a season. I've talked to them. We've already got plans to do job shadowing with them as soon as we're able to do that. They were in the lighting booth and the sound booth, so that's all computerized. So Mr. Folliker was teaching them about that. That's something hopefully that when we get into year 2, that the kids will actually be able to go over and design lighting plots and use a computer and set up, lighting for our shows. Ideally, if all goes well ever, I have hope, that all our technical work that we need for our fall play and our spring musical that we put on will be done by our own kids. The web center people are awesome. They gladly will help us. They will teach, help our kids do stuff. But ideally, all the sets, all the costumes, all that stuff, as much as we can, will be done by our stagecraft classes. That's the goal. We'll see. The nice thing is we'll be working with the film class too as well, because we have lighting in my room. So the film class is going to come in and learn about some lighting stuff, and they're going to help us. They've already done some videotaping of some of our things. So we're hoping to be able to add that to the construction class. We also have, again, if we ever get back to reality, we have a time period right now where we could go in during Mr. Pennick's prep hour, which is when my stage class takes place, and we could use his major tools. We have all kinds of hand tools, but I'm not buying a table saw for us when he has one, the web center has one, I have one at home. I'm not buying one at school. We'll work around it. But it's great to be able to have those other people to help us with. This was a fly system. Again, we were at the web center. Then we did part of what we do with theatrical makeup. Usually the kids do it on each other. Obviously not doing that right now. So I bought a bunch of foam heads, and they did different kinds of makeup on foam heads. So they've done regular, everyday, the normal makeup. They've done old age makeup. If you click again, they've done special effects makeup. One of our seniors wanted to do a tiger. Ideally, in second year makeuping, classes will be doing like wounds and, things where we have to have latex and bigger kind of special effects kind of things. So those were everyone that every other kids did. So we did a lot of just basic makeup. We then started working on set painting techniques, so ways to make brick walls with just paint. Those kind of things. We're hoping to be able to work and have them make different kinds of walls. We call them flats if they're the wood ones with the edges on them. But we make flats with wood. We've got a picture of one that we did for our haunted house that we do, hopefully again in October, where we've done PVC and just black tarp to make our walls so they're portable. And then they learn to then paint them in different ways. So here they were practicing rag painting and whatever, that's fine. Okay. And other just random household things that you can paint with, that you can make a specific design. When the kids used the cup and a styrofoam thing, he's kind of making like suction cup kind of things down the wall. So that's the thing we've done. Again, different kinds of walls, big brick walls and stuff. And then costume designing. Of course, my love, costumer, yes. I try not to make them do too much of this because they get mad at me. This is my favorite thing to do. But these are costumes design. We took the musical Seussical that we did here at the high school probably 12 years ago. And they had to come up with designs that they could possibly use for costuming. Right now we're working on a script analysis where I've given them a simple script and they're going through and doing all of this. So they have to design division boards for the set and for the costumes and for the props and for the makeup. And so that's what we're working on right now. Ideally, again, this will all lead us into next year, hopefully, and even the end of this year, we'll start working on things that we can use for our productions next year. So I'm hoping this spring to be starting to work on set designs for the fall. Any questions?
I'm just excited.
I know, trust me, I'm jonesing to get back in the theater. It's
I just think
kinda
it's
tough.
so cool what these kids are doing. I just really do.
Yeah, and the
That they
website
have this
people-
opportunity at high school to do these programs.
And the nice thing is we can then, if things go in the way that we used to when we did this before, when Mark Michaleski was here, we actually went over during, when the productions come into the web center, and we help them load in their stuff, we help them load out their stuff, we help them move, we set lights, we set, soft good, drapes and stuff. So we can go over and work and do all kinds of things with them if you ever get a season. And that's actual professional kind of stuff. And we can do that in the beginning, first year class, second year class, and then if we used to have internships over there. So, let's face it, Devin Frolicker, the sound man over there, was a theater geek at the high school for
Right.
years. So that's how he ended up over there.
Well, thank you, Sue.
Thanks,
You're
Sue.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so that wraps it up. We just really wanted, February is CTE month, and we really wanted to just showcase each program so you could see a little bit of what's being taught. So if you have any more questions, otherwise we'll let everyone move to the next part of our agenda.
Thank you, Rose.
Thanks, Rose. Appreciate it.
I love
Sure.
speech.
And thanks, everybody, for doing your parts. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
It all went away. Just. Oh.
Wake up.
Wow. You trying to give that to me?
No, I'm trying to get my board packet back. It went away. Okay, that's a little bright.
5 minutes?
Yes.
And we have vocational agriculture.
Oh, my, whole thing went away.
We're gonna just take a 5-minute break.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right, good. I'll go the rest.
Oh. I have to move. Oh.
We taking a break?
A 5-minute stretch.
Oh, that's good. I didn't hear him.
All right. So continuing on with our agenda, we've got our principal reports, and first one is for the Wickenburg High School, Mr. Mark Gorman. And why don't we start on this side so I can just swing right around. Ron, do you have anything for Mr. Gorman?
No, one of the questions I had was in the, I never don't know if I can find it real quick so I don't say it wrong. Either the stand up, speak up, or speak up, stand up, whichever way it goes. But that the conference or what it was, how many attended that?
Off and on, there were between 10 and 20 that were in and out of our media center. And the way we handled it was our counselors had set up the event, had put it out there for anyone that was interested in coming to it to come to the media center. And so we had the large screen that's in there projecting the programming throughout the day. And certain kids came at different times based on what courses they had. If there was a class where they didn't feel comfortable missing, then they stayed in class, and then they might jump out and come the next period. So at various times, there were different kids, and about 20 of them actually were participating at various times in there throughout the day.
Okay. And, and I guess how was the reception of the students of that material or whatever that they're
Right.
doing?
One of the things that I talked with our counselors about is just making sure that we are able to follow up with some of the issues that were brought up, concerns that were brought up, because a part of that was, again, training kids and helping them to understand the importance to being able to stand up and speak up against somebody, something. And I think that fits, first of all, really in line with our No Place for Hate programming, in that, we want kids to be respectful. We want them to demonstrate that respect, expect that there's that respect out there, and when they see somebody who's not being respectful, be able to have the tools to step in and say something to them. So from that, we have that came from that, and we brought that out to an advisory that we had built into January. On January, I think it was 28th, we carved some time into our schedule, and part of that was for registration purposes, to get registration paperwork to kids, and the other part was around suicide prevention. And so that part. Some other things that came from that, and one that's a big one for me is there was some name calling that was brought up toward some special ed students. And so what we're working on right now that we're planning for the first week of March is, in conjunction with Special Olympics, is a week-long focus on inclusiveness. And so we're currently working on what that programming will look like. It involves about a 2-hour window that we're still working on how we can build that into our schedule. That Special Olympics is going to be live streaming, similar to what happens, but we want to do this across our entire campus. And there's some guest speakers that come in from, like, the Suns, another one that was in a movie that I'm not real familiar with, so like the Peanut Butter or Peanut something. Anyway, an actor that's a part of that. But essentially what it's looking to do is to break those barriers, those walls down, and help bridge the gap between maybe our special needs students and our regular education students, and help bring empathy as well as that inclusiveness, so they feel like they're a bigger part of our campus.
Okay, thank you.
You good? Sandy?
I really, my thing is always grades. So now that we've, go back. Okay. So now that we've been in school since October, what are you seeing as far as the kids? And I'm not seeing a whole lot highly proficient.
Yeah, when you look at the data, there's pluses and there's minuses that come along with that right now. One thing that was definitely a highlight for us, and it was just simply based on the data from last year, is we saw our ELA students take a dive on this particular assessment that we just took back in January, and that dive didn't take place this year. That, for whatever the case, that trend didn't continue this year, and now we've started to see a little bit more of a, at least a, if not holding ground, improving in that area. Where we feel like there's maybe a little bit of room to grow was in our math data, and there's a lot of kids in there that obviously didn't perform as well as we would like them to. Our math department, though, is a very strong department, so we're working right now on building interventions that we are going to use between now and AZM 2, which is later in the year than it has been in the past. And they're building in weekly interventions that are going to be used, built within their classrooms. They're going to be specific to what those needs were that were identified through this particular assessment. They're also doing some before and after school tutoring using a 21st Century grant, as well as the promo funding that we have that's in place. And so I'm confident in them and their ability to really work with kids that are struggling in that area right now. And, you know, they had some feedback as to why they felt like they had performed that way, but I think ultimately they are challenged too and understand what their challenge is and are going to be working hard to build on that. Now, you mentioned grading as one of the things there, and grades in general. You know, I think there's a lot of factors that go into grading and what grades kids get, and that's been a focus, if we go back to our school improvement plan, on how we can begin to rethink what goes into grading. Historically, you know, we've had the 100-point percentages that come along with grading, and there's definitely a lot of issues that come with that. And we've been doing some studies around that area. This past PD, we spent several hours focused on that and really looking at what are the pitfalls of that, and that's going to continue into our March and April or PD. So we're really looking at how we can align practices, but align them with positive practices too. So it's something that we're working toward.
Well, and I guess with math, I'm going back to listening to the construction when they couldn't read a tape measure.
Yeah. And that's something that, you know, obviously the difficulty we have that we're facing sometimes is that what they're learning or to be learning in high school is beyond that. And so our math teachers are looking to cycle back and to try to fill those gaps. And those interventions that we talked about are often around numeracy because of a lack of skill that they have that maybe they missed in elementary or middle school, or maybe in a high school class as a freshman and sophomore, that they're having to go back and reteach because there's that gap, there's that missing information, something that they're not getting. And so you're right, there is a definite need there, and something to look toward working on and filling the gap on and see where and maybe our curriculum we're missing that, or instructional practices, or why is it that they're missing that along the way where they get to that point where they're unable to break down a tape measure and find, you know, quarters or eighths or sixteenths or 30 seconds.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, I know Randy had the same thing, so I'm going to let Randy talk about it, so.
Okay. Susan?
Yeah, I liked the English, the ELA stats. I thought that was really good. I think that just shows that, you know, that the kids are learning in this environment. And I struggled with the fact that less than half of the Algebra 1 and Geometry kids are on par to pass and get credit. That really was a rough thing for me to read, because these are kids that started it right in the fall and they weren't on track to pass then, and now we're, you know, partway through this year and they're still not on track to pass. So that was, for me, that's a struggle because I am a math person. I was a computer science major in college, and you have to have those basic skills in life in general. So that was rough. But I thought that the inclusion of the special education programming and that in your update was great, in showing the counseling options and what's going on with the kids, the highlights of what your counselors are doing with the school. I was really excited about reading that too. And obviously the No Place for Hate stuff is amazing, and I wish more kids were taking advantage of that and becoming more involved, because you are back in school, regardless of, you know, what's going on in the world, all the kids are back in school, and I would hope to have more involvement going on there. So that was all I had to say.
Thanks, Susan.
Mark, again, a very good report. I always like seeing Joe Leahy's report in there about their school safety program. Always great to see how involved he's with everything. Again, when you first started the No Place for Hate last year, before that, I'm glad to see that continuing on, and this, and I almost see, you know, some of this stand up, speak up a little bit involved with that too. I like that. I like to see some of what the students actually, what their comments were about that. Part about, you know, and here you had written that it was actually the athletes that brought it up, and that so much of the environment and everything is brought just towards the athletic programs and that. And I like seeing that, so that everyone, you know, see maybe we need to change the environment a little bit, and I think these students had a lot to say about what they feel is going to, you know, help their campus and things like that. And I hope that, you know, it's trained in the whole staff at the school and all that, and you work on some other programs with that. Very good.
Thank you.
Good?
That was it.
Okay. And one other, I did like, that actually had Mark and Lorraine mentioned as two model teachers that exemplify a lot
Yes.
of that character. That was
I
good.
agree. That was good to see them be able to really speak to who they felt was doing what, you know, what they're looking, you know, to have happening, you know, with their teachers, their interactions, the rapport, the relationships that they have with them. So.
And those are two teachers I've recognized myself, just seeing that on campus. So thank you.
Just one comment. The list of the things that the kids made, have these been passed on to the teachers so they know what the kids really are looking for? Because how does one know if you don't give it to them and let them start implementing it? You know, if they don't all get the paper that the kids put their information down on, I mean, even though we should be kind and we should do all those things, but to hear what the kids are saying, I think every teacher needs a copy of it.
Agree. And there was a summary that was put together from our counseling department after that day that was shared out.
Okay.
But beyond that, you know, when you share something like that, as anything, it's there one moment and sometimes becomes secondary as you begin to move forward. And so our goal is to continue to cycle back to that. And it's a pretty comprehensive list. It's pretty lengthy. But there's some highlighted points, just like I felt like, you know, with our special ed students, with the relationships maybe that they feel like they have with staff, that are things we need to continue to work on, that are some big items that will go a long ways toward bringing positive culture to our campus.
Yeah, I think they've laid out a wonderful plan for us to follow.
Well, so I don't usually get to say too much by the time everybody else speaks. And I did have one thing I was going to say, but then Sandy took a second turn and took that piece away. However, I would like to expound what you were just talking about. Sandy asked the question I was going to ask, is that would be a neat thing to have in the forefront, and you just said they all got a summary of it from the counseling department. But I think it needs to be a living document somehow, some way, however the man in charge can make that happen. I think there's some really, it's extensive, but there's some really good information on there that if we can live by that, it's going to help that No Place for Hate. It's going to help everything, and the whole culture is going to come together. You know, I love when it comes together. But Mark, it was an excellent report. I love the visual aids. Thank you for that.
Sure.
It's my favorite part. You get to see what's going on and who's doing it and what they look like while they're doing it. So it was really good. Great report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
that. Thank you. Any other questions? That it?
No, you're dismissed.
I can't have a third.
Thank you.
I can't have a third time.
No. All right, so being at Rose got to talk so much in the beginning, and somebody else really helped me when we came back from our break. I had skipped over part B of this, and that's our recognitions and proclamations. So I'm going to go back to that and find out if anybody on the board has something that they wanted to recognize, or somebody. Or did we already do it? You can
No.
go. Go ahead.
Okay.
Once.
Okay, well, then I'll just pick one thing. I read about the hearts up at Vulture Peak, and so I took a drive up there,
Isn't that amazing?
and I
I'm
was...
sorry, Sandy, I couldn't hear that.
Oh, I said, they talked about the hearts up at Vulture Peak, so I took a drive up there just to look at them, and I was so impressed. They did such a great job, and I don't know what's going to happen to the hearts. I don't know what they're going to do with them, but like there was one heart that had like the ocean and the sand. I mean, it just made me so relaxed. I said I could hang that on my wall. So anyway, I thought they did a great job.
And they have some nice ones down here on this campus,
Yeah,
further
I didn't-
down. Yeah.
I just saw
Yeah.
a little thing about Vulture Peak, so I
Yeah.
went up there.
Yeah, they're really neat. I really like what they
Okay, I'm
did, how
done.
they did them. You're done? Okay. Susan?
Well, I just think we should recognize the sports rehabilitation therapy class because it sounds like they won some awards and that's pretty amazing to first year of the program and be learning so much. And really, I enjoyed hearing about all the CTE programs. I think they're all amazing and I can't wait to tell all my friends that are going to have high schoolers what so many great options are for them. But yeah, it's great that they won some awards. That's pretty awesome.
I'm going first next time. That's what I was going to talk about.
Okay, good.
But go ahead, Randy.
Nothing exceptional.
So the way I was going to say it, it was said very well, but the way I was going to say it was that I really would like to recognize your program, that you're the director of the CTE program, and all the excellent presenters you had here tonight. That is amazing. And what Susan said, I hope we all go out there and tell people what we have to offer up here. Yeah, you know, it's amazing. Nobody, I mean, I shouldn't say nobody, but a lot of people don't understand. They're going to go there and learn math and science. Yeah, everybody's doing that. You know, but we have some really, really possible life-changing things going on up there. They're going to come out of there with certificates. Mr. Purcell was talking about that handler's card that goes everywhere. Mr. Pennick, the OSHA card, it follows you. You take it. It's something you earned at school. You didn't have to pay for it. You know, it's out of the program. It's amazing. So thank you for doing that. We really do appreciate you and your staff that are all doing the CTE things.
Yeah, one of the things I did get out of that, you know, is we do have a lot of students can't go off to college classes and stuff. And CTE, that's the thing for those kids there. And one thing Mr. Pennick did say about how much the kids love the 3D printer.
Oh, yeah.
I think he is the one that really loves it. I've seen him on Facebook. It's all his little gadgets that he's done on his 3D printer.
I was going to call him on that, and I thought, oh, wait.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
Very
so
good.
now we'll get back into our, oh, I'm so sorry. Barbara, throw stuff at me. I keep forgetting.
No, I won't throw anything at you.
But it's your turn. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Molly and the rest of the board. I do have a couple of recognitions that I'll go through as quickly as possible in the interest of time. I want to just congratulate and appreciate the board. Students around the students around the district participated in National School Choice Week, and many of the activities are designed to elicit pride in their school. And students at Festival Foothills shared this wonderful book that they made, and it's their school choice thoughts. So I just loved reading what they put together, and Students of every grade shared what they love about their school, so wanted to recognize the students for doing that. And then I too wanted to recognize that all of our schools are participating in Wickenburg Has Heart, which is sponsored by the Del Webb Center. And so every one of our campuses have the big hearts on them. I too don't know what they're going to do with them when they're in, but at Festival there's a beautiful one with this beautiful cactus on it. So students and art teachers are putting it up. It's a project designed to uplift the community through art. And then congratulations to our district spelling bee champion. Olivia McGuire is a 7th grade student at Vulture Peak, and she will represent Wickenburg at the regional spelling bee later this month. And then a big shout out to our students and staff of the district. On January 29th, Wickenburg Unified School District hosted a point of dispensing for the COVID-19 vaccine for educators in the area, and that included from Aguila to Natterburg, so about 400 people were eligible for that. We actually dispensed 130 vaccinations. And forgive me if I forget anybody, but these were the volunteers that we had from Wickenburg School District and our students. So Dr. Leslie Schertz, Joe Leahy, Brandy Watkins, Shelley Grody, Doug Clements, Peggy Lackey, students Madison Roddy, Megan McGrody, Megan Ullery, I say that, forgive me Megan, Ullery, student Daisy Smith, Lynn Green, Jackie Coronado, Mark Gorman, Matt Johnson, Carissa Hershkowitz, Jim Missel, Valerie Shumway, Aaron Johnson, Debbie Hodgkiss, Jeremy Corliss, Mike Riggin, and Anne-Marie Davey. So we were out there on a very cold, rainy day, and we get to do round 2 on February 26th. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. And sorry about that again.
Of course.
All right. So now we've got Wickenburg Virtual Academy Principal Report. And we will start with Mr. Hodges this time.
Okay. Again, Rose, very good report that you put together. Good detail on the components you had of the report itself. I liked seeing your part in there showing how the what WVA students are involved in high school activities. I think they were all sports. So I had a question, was there any other activities that we have some of the WVA students involved with?
Well, it is kind of a different year. We, many times, our WVA students will take part in things such as fall and spring musical or different clubs. They'll stay after for FBLA and the FCCLA baking or skills, but it is kind of a different year. We do have one of our WVA students who is concurrent with the high school, and he's in the sports medicine. I'll be honest with you, I was very conflicted sometimes as people were enrolling in virtual, and I'm like, don't you want to keep perhaps this wonderful engineering program or this wonderful, it's just hard. But because they were really going to virtual, many of them did move out. They'll be back in, I think, another year. But it was fun to see, and that virtual student, doing his CPR and so on. We have 2 of them that are concurrent in the high school in student council, and I know that's kind of an odd thing, but again, because of the year we had, and they were already elected officers. Anyway, so we have 2 in student council for the high school that are concurrent. We do have 75 virtual kids that are doing internships. That's really odd, but it is that kind of year. And I will say that has been one of the things that's come out of this. And we've had students tell us, well, my senior year I'm going to be back on campus, but right now I'm doing this and I have this great job building cabinets or learning welding or working with animals. I have some learning horseshoeing. I mean, it's just a different year, but they are successful with their classes, passing everything, learning all kinds of skills. They're working accounting or business office, insurance, all kinds of different opportunities. They're learning real life skills in internships this year. So that is happening. We do have about 30 students for virtual that have taken a foreign language this year. So they've taken online Spanish, and I mean, not every student will jump into online foreign language, but we have students who've done it and have done it very well, first or second year. You know, they had decided to move to virtual, and yet they're looking at their college requirements and thinking, it'd be better if I did second year now rather than forget everything. And so they've jumped in and done that and done it well. One student did German, and that's because she was trying to prepare for a Rotary exchange that probably, I don't know, not sure that's happening, but she is learning German, which was her goal. Let me think. We have a couple students who took digital photography, so they're in some different things. Every year, I've always had some students who were concurrent as band, choir, or art students because they are very passionate about those. Not this year. It's just an odd year. But they are active in learning things. It's been fun to watch the difference. And I should also mention that I have about 4 or 5 students doing college classes. So some are through that AZSOC program, some are just taking a college class, through Rio Salado or something like that. We also do have several that are WestMech besides. So they're kind of scattered into all kinds of things this year.
Good. Thank you. Susan, anything?
I didn't have anything.
Nothing?
No.
Okay. I just want to know what it is with math.
It's just one kid. That's why I didn't bring it up.
You know what,
Here.
besides that, most of our
Every
8th
kid
grade
counts.
students are taking Algebra 1. And I know that sounds odd, but when because they have to do both tests. They have to do the 8th grade and the Algebra 1 test. And so it's odd, but sometimes they're like, wait, I need to review those things, I guess. So it's something we actually are circling back and trying in our Algebra 1 class with the 8th graders to review some different 8th grade benchmarks besides. Most of those students are advanced, and they've taken the 8th grade math last year. So.
But there's also the ELA that was exceeded, so I'll throw that in.
Well, and I liked that,
Great.
well, and I didn't
no,
say this, but I liked that you already sort of had a plan for how to fix it. And you put that in there, here's the things we're doing to.
Right.
Right.
Yes, and we actually send our virtual Algebra 1 teacher to Vulture Peak 1 day a
Saw
week.
that.
She goes Wednesday mornings for first hour. It's been really, I think, fun for the students and for her. They're excited to be able to see their students, and these are students that are motivated about math, and so she has been enjoying going.
Good.
Great.
Ron, anything?
The only thing I just like the way you presented the information on here for the Galileo comparison, where, it maintained, or this number exceeded, whatever. It just, I don't know, I just like the way it was presented.
Thank you.
That's all I had.
Awesome report.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rose.
Thank you.
All right, so item 3 is call to the public, and I think I can probably breeze that one. Not anybody here. Consent agenda. Anybody need anything pulled from this consent agenda before we take action? Hearing none, can get a
Can I just
motion?
make a comment?
I don't know.
I I just wanted to make a comment about how cute it was, the thank you that they sent. With the little thumbprints on it.
Oh, yes, okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
what?
What? What did you
It's
say?
The thank you notes that
The
Hacienda
thank you
wrote.
notes.
Oh, yeah,
Thumbprint.
yeah, yeah,
I just thought
yeah.
that was really cute because
Yeah.
usually our
It was.
thank you notes are blah. So
Yeah.
I wanted to just
Yeah,
throw that out there.
that was,
It was.
those were good.
That's all I wanted to say.
Caught me off guard on that one. Okay, so how about that motion then?
I move to accept the agenda. What-
Consent
God.
agenda?
Yes.
That one?
You want me to do it, Sandy?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Consent
consent agenda items for February 16th, 2021 as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so we've got action items. Action item A is the approval financial reports as presented by Mrs. Erin Johnson. And you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, good evening. So just looking at the monthly financials, there isn't much of a change over the past few months. We're trending low. A lot of that is due to just our late opening and not having, some of the costs associated with that, not having the sub costs, the travel costs, things like that, as well as shifting quite a few of our expenditures over to some of those grant funds that we received through the CARES money. So this should allow us a nice carry forward into next year, which we will need moving forward, just because of the reduction with having remote through October, as well as just a decrease in our enrollment. So other than that, nothing much has changed, no surprises. Our budget balances are positive, and we are in compliance to the best of my knowledge.
Beautiful. Anybody have questions for her? How about a motion for me?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report as submitted.
Second.
You missed both of them that time.
I know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. You guys are cracking me up. All right, so we've got item action B, which is the governing board to discuss and may consider rescinding and nullifying the current governing board policy manual. So I know you've had conversation, and does anybody need to ask anything, or do you want to move on, and are we prepared for that? Or do you have any
I don't know.
comments?
When we have no policy manual, then can we do what we want to?
For about 2 seconds,
Until we get to item
until we get
C.
to item C.
We may not get to see you.
Oh, you never know.
No, I don't have it.
Okay,
All right. I'll make a motion to rescind and nullify the current governing board policy manual of the Wickenburg Unified School District Number 9 as submitted.
Second.
hey, all in favor?
Aye.
Susan.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, so we are going to get to action item C quickly here, because Ron's got something on his mind. So the governing board to discuss a revised governing board policy manual developed with consulting assistance from the Arizona School Boards Association containing selected, retained documents from the predecessor manual and now modified documents as presented or with language adjustments. Who
So I
wants to
think we
start?
made all the adjustments, right? So everything's adjusted based on what we previously discussed.
And
Alright.
so we are just, so the manual will have everything in it with just these new adjusted policies, right?
Right.
Okay.
The only question I have is the two that we pulled off.
Yeah.
We still need to do those at some point.
Policy ADB was the one we had discussion, the definition ADB.
Mhm.
I could be wrong.
ADB.
Definition of definition of good education, whatever it was. Yeah, we do need to look at that in the future, but that one will roll forward as it is because we didn't make any recommended changes. And then we had discussed policy FF as possible
Right.
changes, and we did not approve any of those changes. So that one rolls forward from the old manual as well. Does that answer the question?
Well, sort of, except that the reason we didn't approve them then was because we had thought they needed to be revised in some way.
So policy FF was the naming of the naming of school facilities. That one, we did not recommend any changes based on what it was. And it was our understanding that we were not recommending any changes. So
Right.
that one
We'll
moved
leave it.
forward, it stays exactly
Right.
the
Right.
same.
We
The
didn't like
other
their
one,
recommendations.
we had probably some further discussion. So I have tentatively scheduled that policy for a discussion during our retreat as part of taking a look at what our vision and mission is this summer. So if we decide to make changes at any point forward, we can make those changes. We just hadn't moved forward with any changes at this point.
Okay.
Now, does that answer your question? So, were those the two you were talking about? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. For some reason I was thinking that AD had some issues with it. I don't know one, but I had it printed out here. But ADB with the Principles of Good Education, that's the one you're talking
So
about.
we rolled that one forward because we had a lot of questions
Right.
about what to do with it. And in the interest of time, we've rolled it forward. That doesn't mean we can't go back to it.
Right.
Is that, okay.
All right, anybody else? Okay, ready for a motion?
All right. I'll move that we adopt the policy manual developed with consulting assistance from the Arizona School Board Association containing selected retained documents from the predecessor manual and new and modified documents hereby prescribed and approved by the board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Holding your breath, I saw you over there, Lynn. All right, so we've got item D. This is the request for approval, the installation of a shade structure at Hacienda Elementary School.
Just so you guys know, this is like 4 years in the making because
Right.
when my daughter started school, we were having this conversation with the PTA, so yeah.
Yeah, we had
I'm
this
very
a long
happy
time.
to see this on the agenda.
Well, it's at least on the agenda.
Yes.
Well, and, it looks like the PTA is funding it,
Yes.
and so I'm all for it.
That sounds almost like a motion.
The other question I kind of had, and maybe Jim is here to talk about that, just that the contractor that was selected, I just, how much detail, and who, what, process was used to select this contractor to do that installation of these shade screens, or shade covers.
He notified, he was the one that was the contractor at Wickenburg Christian Academy. So he came over and talked to Carissa and myself, and Carissa explained what she wanted to have done. And we walked through it, and this is what she wanted to do, and she was happy with what he was saying. And I talked to Wickenburg Christian Academy on what their work is, all what he'd been done there. He put a shade cover over the playground equipment. We impressed on how he did that, very safety-wise, and communicated well with them. And he was doing a great job communicating with Carissa too on what she wants and how much she wants to do. So I like him as a contractor.
Okay. And his work, you did look over there?
Yeah, he did a good
Okay.
job.
Yeah, he did a real good job on that one. I looked at that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand, I had originally asked a question about any bid process, realized, yeah, we didn't need that
Right.
because of the $10,000, but, yeah, as long as everybody was satisfied with their, and the documentation that was provided with this was good. I liked that, had a lot of detail, insurance, all that, so I was happy with that detail that was used in documentation. So, okay, that's all.
Okay, let's get that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the installation of a shade structure at Hacienda Elementary School as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything for Aaron.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right, so we're into informational items, item for future agenda. And we've got our announcements calendar.
And just a reminder that our March board meeting is scheduled to be held at Festival Foothills Elementary School.
Ooh, good reminder.
Which one?
Oh.
That is a great
March,
reminder.
twice a year.
March 9th.
So, March 9th, and it is a short 3 weeks away due to spring break.
I thought
yeah.
we went down there once a year.
Trying to make up for all the years we
That's our
didn't.
next,
March 9th at Festival Foothills.
that's our next one, okay.
Yep.
But it's later, correct?
No.
This
No,
is,
it's actually,
yes.
actually it's a week earlier.
Yeah, we'll start at
Oh, yeah.
6
At
for travel
6
time.
instead of,
Ah, okay.
we get travel time, Ron does.
You know, just blow me off, you know.
I know.
And actually, the traffic difference between 5:30, and 6:30 is tremendous.
Oh, I bet. But it's 6 o'clock or it's 6:30?
We will be sure that we,
Yeah.
And the address too, so I can map it.
Google Maps.
You don't know how to get there yet?
Well, I do.
All right, announcements and calendar.
Need the
We
street-
see them?
Yep.
And item 7A.
I'll make
Ready?
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Oh.
The motion carries.
Oh, I
Meeting
didn't say
adjourned at
aye.
7:36.
Sorry.
That's okay, I said it for you.